Hello everyone, it's your bud. Today I will be talking about an original idea that I had a few years ago. And before I get started, I just want to say that I'm feeling absolutely awful today. I just finished the script and now I'm going to do the narration, but afterwards I doubt I will have much energy left for looking for artwork. So yeah, there's probably going to be some minimal artwork, but I put all of my efforts into the script. And also if you notice it in my voice or if you notice me stumbling over a few words, that's just because I can barely keep my eyes open and I just need to lie down and the pain is just so much today. But anyways, I think you're really gonna like the script that I wrote and the idea that I created. So the idea is the combination of all of those card games like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or an anime like Yu-Gi-Oh! And an Isekai or an otherworld anime. Why has there never been a otherworld anime where everyone uses power in the form of cards? Or maybe there is and I missed it. If so, let me know in the comments. And I don't mean a world where people use cards in that world. I mean an anime where someone has gone to a world where they use cards. I've never seen that ever. And because I'm going to be saying it a lot, I just want to clarify. I am saying card deck, as in D-E-C-K. So if you hear anything different, that was not intentional. First, the gods were all powerful, and then one ingenious god amongst them forged the first magic card, a tablet of stone, eventually learning to take these stone tablets and bind monsters, elements, natural phenomenon, and even uniquely created spirits, for a lack of better description. This great god brought the power to the mortals to balance the power gap between the gods and mortals, much the same as the titan Prometheus giving fire to the humans. Though no single mortal could create a magic card with the same level of divine power as any god, let alone the forge master who designed the original magic cards. In this world, any mortal that acquires a card would have the ability to instantly change their station in life if they had the desire, and could eventually create lineages, dynasties, or even kingdoms where their accumulated magic cards could be utilized to acquire even more for them. The best way I can describe it is with video games. When you play an MMO, you can all learn certain basic skills, yet there are sometimes one-of-a-kind items that, while extremely powerful, can be collected by anyone who complete a certain challenge, or search a certain rune or ancient structure, or even through completing something as simple as a fetch quest. You never know when a kind old person would bestow their favorite card to one they felt showed to be worthy. That simple fetch quest might be the best way to assess the individual's qualities and if they're suited to receive such a thing, like the ring being given to Frodo. You never know what powerful artifact card or legendary monster card is just sitting in someone's hands waiting to be passed to another. Think of D&D where some skills or spells need to be taught and passed down to others. City guards might be equipped with a certain card type that is common in that area. One city might have collected an amount of guard dogs, or another city might equip their city guards with cards of poisonous vipers, while the guards for hire and palace guards would have yet more specialized decks, perhaps custom made by their employer. Sometimes a wise employer would give their guards powerful and underutilized cards that show their cunning, while others may be more focused on making sure their guards or employees are equipped with flashy phoenixes and impractical yet impressive looking beasts or spells to raise their social status amongst the masses. Any spell or monster or artifact, whether magical or technical, any element or natural phenomenon, and any ancient forgotten evil or any legendary hero may be in the hands of one who seems to be normal, but perhaps has a greater destiny to achieve than even they know. And while the gods can create stronger cards, and the first forger god of magic cards was the master of it, achieving the pinnacle of power to be infused within his creations, there would be humans who, using their many low-level cards and countless generations of short mortal lives, would learn to forge rituals, utilizing the effect of their amassed and collective knowledge, and perhaps achieving powers beyond any except the Forge Master god of magic cards. And if these cultures or kingdoms had ill purpose, their collective knowledge might have inspired confidence in some of the mortals to then even challenge the gods. And then the gods would have to fight back, and in the subsequent war, these kingdoms would lose their cities and their cultures after killing many gods in war, some intentionally and some through the unknown consequences of the power they wielded. And one of these unintentional deaths was the Master Forge god of magic cards. Although did he really die without leaving the good humans with a secret means to keep them in balance with the gods? A special card or set of cards that can put mortals on an even footing with the gods? So because I didn't write that very well, I just want to clarify. Some of these humans might achieve great power, and though some might challenge and fight the gods, others might mistakenly use this power and unintentionally cause chaos that the gods had to fight against. And then the subsequent war would mean the destruction of this amassed knowledge, this state and level of knowledge, this prehistory level of knowledge that might have been lost, a sort of Atlantis thing, where a city might have achieved and amassed so much knowledge, and then they might have used that knowledge in a way that unintentionally made the gods have to commit war and destroy the city. So I don't know if this would be a world where there are other species and many different pantheons of gods for each species or culture, or one great collective of all gods on their plane of heaven or the beyond, or their great realm above the mortals who live down upon the earth. Not too separate, as many gods are closely linked with nature and the aspects of human spirits, but their divine power would allow them to live away and together with nature at the same time. And perhaps they were forced to leave the earth during the war and have yet to return, still believing the mortals to be too dangerous and reckless or chaotic to risk their lives living amongst them. I really like the idea of carrying a spell around in your pocket or a legendary monster. You could not judge a person's magic skill through some aura or such like that, or through muscles or connection to magical source, and you could not tell if the person you spoke to was a leader of men or a trainer of great beasts until they released their monster and armies from card forms. As I mentioned, some of the most powerful nations would learn over generations to construct rituals to achieve power on par with the gods, and though the resources required to do this would be unsustainable or perhaps even abhorrent, the most powerful of these collectives could forever bind their greatest champions into their own magic card vessels and entrust this card to a noble family or loyal follower, ensuring that their champions continue to serve on far beyond their mortal life. Think of Dark Magician from Yu-Gi-Oh! He was once an actual magician put into a card. Also, I want to touch on the personalities of the living beings that are bound to the magic cards, because you might be thinking, well, are they all just personality-less, or do they have a spirit? Do they have individual personalities? I think of these much as Genie from Aladdin, with a fully fleshed out personality, and if they have been left alone for too long, perhaps even fallen into madness. These could be great heroes of mortals from the time of the battles with the gods, or twisted villains who were bound to their card by rogue cults, ready to lie and deceive their next holder into fulfilling their plans. I thought this would make a really good anime, or specifically a Otherworld or Isekai anime, where the main character would wander through small shops that instead of selling magic items or brooms or crystal balls would be boxes and boxes of cards, some common, some useful, and some made in the strangest of circumstances by the strangest of people, and though they may have a use, it has not been recognized by any yet. Imagine essentially great libraries of these cards, like bookshops, movie stores, or video game stores. The amount of creations that mortals make is staggering, and many extremely useful ideas are often forgotten or superseded by pressing events such as wars or diseases. And the next advancement in power or a great treasure of a past collector may be waiting for the one who can see its usefulness. So I just wanted to mention bookstores and video game stores and movie stores to bring up the fact that there's so much that in real life you just need to find and search out. There are many YouTube channels that I watch where I specifically learn about old things that I would have missed if I hadn't watched that, such as Red Letter Media for movies, or The Angry Video Game Nerd for old video games that I wouldn't have learned about if I hadn't watched the channel. So you can imagine in this magic card world that many individual mortals might have specific cards that they had an emotional connection to, yet those cards don't have the same emotional connection to others, and so they would eventually find their way to one of these great libraries or side alley shops, and you could look through and find any variety of any cards that you can imagine. Now, I always liked building decks, and again, that is DECKS. I don't like playing as much as I like making. That's probably due to my health. My health limits the interactions I can have when I'm dueling, but I can always spend some time just imagining and creating combinations. Combinations custom made to unique limitations. Limitation is the inspiration for creativity, and learning to make a deck of cards built around the first that you own or the first that you got is especially fun, like getting a starter Pokemon and building your team around them. Limitation is the driving force for creativity, and that's what makes this world so interesting. In Eberron in D&D, they never learned to make guns because they all have magic. This world is the exact opposite. If you could have a god-level being or natural phenomenon in a card form, then why would you ever learn to use the powers of the gods when you could instead use the cards that store it? Learning to replicate these cards is a workaround to training your body to use magic. Any child or elder can use a card without requiring training, though the recognition of the opportune moment of attack is something that while some have the instinct of, most have to learn. Yet the royals of mortals, the peasants, the young and old, would all have access to this grand power. I think of it a lot like Pokemon. Pokeball equals magic card, and 100 card deck equals the 6 Pokemon limit, not for collecting, but for dueling. I think there would be a limit to power that can be utilized within a duel, not for any reason of honor, simply because the magic battlefield can only withstand so much power without tearing apart in horrific fashion. The energy field needed to create the magic battlefield exploding in a great tear of time-space. Maybe this is how the great mortal kingdoms who fought the gods were destroyed, and why the gods fear returning to the mortal realm. This area of tears in time-space being a chaotic and dangerous realm, yet one that if braved and survived, can see one recovering relics of these fallen kingdoms, in the form of cards, or through glyphs and carvings on whatever ruins remain. And the holy grail of discovery would be the recovery of an individual with that ancient knowledge, whose soul and powers were bound to a single card. Very much a human form, STC. So there's one more thing I need to tell you about these powers of the mortals who are bound to a card. They could be limitless. I imagine the combination of other cards, or even the combination of 99 out of the individual's 100 card deck, along with that individual, into a new single card. The most grand achievement that has never been confirmed to have taken place, yet one must have done it, right? And what of the Master Forge God of all the magic cards? Did he truly perish, or did he too go through the process unknown even to the other gods? For the Grand Forge Master could not complete the ritual themselves and left it to a pair, a trusted human and a trusted god, who in tandem bound the soul of the Forge Master along with his 99 greatest magic cards and placed the newly created card into the hands of a mortal family that has passed it down all these years, aided by their single godly ally who helped complete the ritual. They might have founded a new kingdom until that bloodline died out and the card was passed to a vassal of their kingdom. So the world is like Pokemon, where any person can acquire these special cards no matter their age or social status, yet only knowledge on utilizing them can make one a master of dueling or deck building. A world with a chaotic realm of incomprehensibly shifting time-space where the old kingdoms once stood, a place where many can acquire lost treasures of a past age. A world where simple cards with simple effects or beloved pets are created in such innumerable amounts due to the individual pursuits of mortals, stacked up in endless back-alley shops with bins to dive through of unknown cards, or even grand libraries of cards to be rented out to the citizens of certain nations. The original Forge Master of magic cards and the rest of the gods crafted tablets of stone, so if you see an individual wielding a stone card, know it is an ancient and greatly treasured item. And the human cards are made of a lighter and thinner paper-like substance that seems to withstand time and most damaging effects such as water, ice, fire, or heat, but are not indestructible. Only the stone tablet cards created by the gods hold a resilience that borders on invincibility to destruction or degradation of any kind. This world is one where magic is not used by humans naturally, yet anyone can use their magic cards to affect the world in ways that only magic or god-tier technology could. A world where the greatest mortal heroes and villains could outlive their peers in the form of a magic card to be wielded by their descendants, or any who come across them like Genie and Aladdin, although something even like the magic carpet would be a good magic card, and the many duplicate cards that exist in card games could be thought of as being personalized to any. Imagine using a duplicate card on another card in a ritual combined with a personalization card. The duplication and personalization processes are rituals that many mortals could achieve with a bit of intelligence and determination, while the creation of a new divine creature or binding of a great mortal hero's soul remain far out of the reach of most mortals and can only be achieved by a grand collective of humans. Perhaps there's even a card or combination of cards that allows the user to get to the realm of the gods themselves, as the gods might have used similar cards to travel to the mortal realm, and humans might have learned how to replicate this effect. Also, while the 100 card limit is the only limitation, the limitation is actually upon the energy field. The field of energy that the cards manifest in can only withstand the power of 100 cards before catastrophe occurs. Yet, this field can be activated outside of battle, spreading out around the individual. It allows them to use their cards outside of battle for mundane actions, or just for bonding with the creature or being whose souls and spirits are bound within the cards. Think of not sure if you watch Harry Potter, but remember that scene where Harry goes into the Weasley's house and there's just like magic dishes washing themselves? Or imagine having a summoned spirit around you all the time that you can just use in the card, like a pet or an ally or something like that. The only worry is that the individual cannot activate more than 100 cards in a single energy field without catastrophe occurring. So a peasant and a king have the same limitations. No individual can unleash thousands of swarming monsters or loyal soldiers. Any peasant and any high lord or noble can duel on even footing, although the quality of cards increases with the resources one can use to acquire them, even through illegal and downright evil means. And any individual that holds the power of cards can most likely keep themselves safe, utilizing a guard in a card to watch over them, so they can lessen the fear of having them stolen or strong-armed into giving them up. Yet of course there would be those that build decks of cards specially and specifically for the purpose of stealing even more, using shadow cards, invisibility cards, light-bending cards, sound-muffling cards, and even appearance-changing cards. Or just making the most awful monster they can, charge into something and taking what they can afterwards. So before I continue on with the script, I want to quickly mention I made another video very similar to this that I will link at the end or maybe put in the cards on the side. It was a whole thing about cards and having power in cards. And in that I thought of a system where every winner of every duel could take up to 7 cards from the loser. So in this world, that's what I think should happen. Every single duel, the winner can take up to 7 cards from the loser. So that puts some stakes into it. So like say a peasant challenged a king and won, they could take 7 kingly cards or something like that. I think it could be pretty cool, but some people would probably, if they were above the other person, they would probably just opt out and say, oh no, I'm not going to take 7 cards. Or I think there'd be a minimum from 1 to 7, but someone could just like take a, I don't know, an energy or a land card or whatever the equivalent of energy or land is in this world. Now back to the script. It doesn't take much to alter a card or corrupt a card for an individual's purpose, and if the individual can acquire a duplication card, then they can manipulate or rework the spare without fear of losing the original and losing precious skills or cards. So a duplication card and a personalization card in tandem with a ritual can allow that person to manipulate the card to their heart's content. And also, how do you create new cards? Well, I'm sure the gods would make capture cards that could capture a being's soul and spirit and infuse it into the card, binding them to that card. But humans could replicate that card, but not to the same power, creating their capture cards and having to use them in complex rituals created over generations. And even then, they might need groups of people all working together to achieve a capture of a beast that a single god could achieve just by themselves. So what did you think of this? Instead of a world like Pokemon where there's Pokemon running around everywhere and you can capture them in Pokeballs, or a world like Yu-Gi-Oh where the Yu-Gi-Oh cards can only be used in the duels, this is a world where people can freely utilize their cards, unless they're in a city of course, in which case there will be rules to follow, like no using your blue eyes or red eyes in the city please. and a world where those cool magic artifact shops from D&D with ancient recovered treasures of unique origins possessing special traits are replaced with the leftover cards of mortals from their past life. Even if every mortal strove to achieve only one single deck of 100 cards, the sheer amount of them to be searched through and the variety of them would be beyond my math skills. While monarchs or nobles may hold many decks upon their person in order to utilize the perfect 100 card deck for each individual opponent they duel. So what kind of deck would you create to duel with? Some of my most fun memories are of me dueling in Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh with my friends, my sister, and my cousins. Even playing Pokemon on Game Boy with friends from school or my cousin was super fun. We'd just catch random Pokemon and duel with them and see what happens, and it could be hilarious. I remember once I had this like duck Pokemon that took out a Charizard, and that was a pretty funny moment. You don't have to duel seriously, it can just be for fun, and it's something that can be done by many ages. I wonder what life will be like when my generation gets super old and is playing like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon in retirement homes. It's a super funny thought to me. Why play bridge when you can, excuse me for saying this, whip out your deck and duel? And in this other world of magic cards, instead of wizards and warlocks, there are just different card collectors or duelers, and then those that would use a single card their whole life as a pet or a tool to help in their work, not striving to achieve more in their life or change their station, just having something to be part of their life. Anything is possible in this other world of magic cards. So thanks for watching, everyone. Sorry I couldn't fit in even more cool art, and sorry I couldn't make this longer, but I can barely sit up straight today. And even more than that, I think it's hit like an hour and 15 minutes or so to record this narration. I'm not joking. Yeah, it took me so long to do this recording. It's probably gonna cut down to 10 or 15 minutes maybe, and it took me over an hour, and the font on my computer is giant and I still can't read it without screwing up. Like, my mind just can't comprehend the words that I'm reading. I can think of one word, and then when I get to the next, it's just like, I don't know, I can't even like read things today. That's how bad it is. And I tried doing the script. I tried to make a really long script and I put a lot of effort in, but I couldn't get a longer script. I just couldn't type more. So if you want a part 2, I can talk about this more. It's only my health today that's limiting the total runtime of this video, but hanging my head over to type it's just so painful, and I can't type without looking yet. So again, thanks for watching, everyone. If you want more, then leave this video a like. Remember to subscribe for daily videos. Oh man, I'm screwing up. I can't even read this part of the script. I say this at the end of every single video and I'm having trouble. I'm stumbling over this right now. Wow. Okay, anyway, so yeah, like if you want more of this, subscribe for daily videos. I make at least one video every single day, sometimes more than one, sometimes one in the morning and one in the evening. And leave any questions or suggestions in the comments below, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching. Take care.